Well, 1 month ago, Detroit Lions player Jameson Williams and Stanley Berryhill were suspended for violating the NFL's gambling policy. The two were the first players to be disciplined for breaking the rules preventing players from betting on other sports while on team property. The Athletic spoke with players on the condition of anonymity to see what they knew about the policy. Senior NFL writer for The Athletic, Kalyn Kahler, is joining us now to discuss. Thanks for joining us. So before I get into the rules, because it's like the rules are simple but complex at the same time, because really the rules are like don't bet on sports, right? But then they have all these other things underneath. Look, my question to you is, why is it harmful for NFL players to bet on any sport? I understand why you wouldn't want to bet on football, but what about all the other sports?
Anne-Marie, a lot of people are asking that question, NFL players, agents included, and the media as well. So the NFL has one of the strictest policies on sports gambling when you look around sports. Actually, just yesterday, the NCAA, which had the strictest policy, they had a zero tolerance policy on sports gambling with players. They amended their policy to make it much more relaxed and the consequences much less severe because they were having a huge issue, just like the NFL was. So the NFL's issue, they are obsessed with maintaining the integrity of the game. So they think that any gambling that's taking place on work premises is unnecessary. And we heard that directly from an NFL executive last week. She asked in a press conference, if integrity is the number one mission, why would we have sports gambling on the premises? So that is kind of the root of their philosophy on the sports gambling policy. But as we've seen, as you mentioned, Jameson Williams and Stanley Berryhill, neither of them were betting on the NFL. Neither of them were threatening the so-called integrity of the game. So you do have to wonder if it's really worth punishing them for 6 games, which is a significant chunk of the season.
Yeah, these are athletes. They're passionate about sports. Wouldn't be surprised if they would bet on another sport. What sort of response did you get from players about their habits and the policy?
Yeah, so when I asked players, I talked to 5 different players, gave them anonymity so they could be totally honest about what they did or didn't know about the policy and what their gambling habits were. And 4 out of the 5 of them did not know the details of the policy. They all knew, okay, we can't bet on the NFL. That's an obvious part of the policy, but they didn't know the parts about not gambling while you're at work, not gambling in the locker room at the team hotel while you're traveling. They didn't know that part of it. And the reality is that this new generation of players, the 22, 23-year-olds, these are the ones that are getting punished. Both Jameson and Stanley were rookies last season. They grew up in a world where these apps are readily available. They grew up in an NFL where the NFL has been partnered with sports gambling entities their entire career.
Right.
So this is so available and visible to them, and it's just part of their lives. Their friends are doing it. So I think that they weren't educated very well. And what I heard from the players, since they didn't know the details of the policy, is that they weren't really emphasizing this in previous years. Now the NFL is. They're going, team to team to make sure that players and staffers know this policy. But I think in the past, from what I heard from players, they did not feel like they really were emphasizing this policy. And it's easy for them when you sit down in a meeting with, 3 hours of rules and compliance issues to sort of tune out the details.
Definitely. Yeah, too late for them, but hopefully for future athletes, they won't find themselves getting the slap on the hand, pretty heavy one. Kalyn Kahler, Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.